Hi, Michael Ullman, owner of Ullman Precision Products, and this is our second video in our three-part series, How to Not Screw Up a Perfectly Good Gunstock. So let's get started on what we're going to do next. So in the first video we talked about laying out our master lines and getting to that point. We're now ready to cut in all of our lines and get everything laid out and almost to depth, and that's what we're going to do now. So let's talk about some basic principles first. They apply to whether you're using only hand tools or whether you're using a power checkering machine like the Titan. You need these things taken care of. So the first and most important thing is good lighting. So we talked about good lighting in the first video, about nice overhead lighting and being able to see all of your lines. And now it's time to lurk in the shadows, so to say. So this light here is on, but it's only on just for video purposes. Normally we'll cast the light off to the side like this with these lights on, and that'll where I will checker most of the time. The reason for that is because we're going to want to create a shadow. So as we cut the line, it's going to create a shadow in each groove, and that helps you see what you're doing and see your lines and see how straight they are. If you're just pounding yourself with light all over the place, it's really no good. You may have heard, like the old timers, they said they would only checker in the morning or in the evening, you know, kind of that rainbow light, in the soft light during those two parts of the day. And that was so that they could get the shadows that they wanted to. But nowadays we can use some modern lighting and just create our own shadows so that we can really see what's going on. The next thing that's important is to cut from the shoulder. Guide your tools from the shoulder area. Don't guide it from the wrist, don't guide it from the elbow, but let your shoulder guide your elbow and your wrist and guide the tool. And so that motion, doing this, will give you straighter lines. It just is a natural thing that helps you. If you use larger muscles to control the tool, it will give you a straighter line. The third thing that you need to do is mental. It's think straight. You've got to think straight lines. You've got to constantly be aware of that, but you've got to overcome the tendency. The tendency is to rush to something. So if you've got a line across here along the barrel channel, for instance, the tendency is to bend that line and hurry up to get to there instead of coming out and keeping that line parallel. So you've got to overcome the tendency to want to bend your lines, and that's a mental issue. And so while you're checkering, you've got to keep it in your head to cut straight lines. We'll go over in just a minute about some other little techniques that will help us, but the biggest battle is in your mind. This is personal preference for me, but you'll see that my stock is fairly upright when I checker. There's a couple of reasons that I do that. It's for one, so that when it's fatigued, you know, it keeps my shoulders back and everything. I see people that checker bent over or hunched over the stock, or their stock's almost flat. And for me, that causes a lot of stress and strain throughout the day as I'm checkering. And so I tend to checker and sit upright. It also allows me to checker with the shoulder a little easier as opposed to being right over the work. So, okay, let's take a look at what we've got here, because our master lines are cut and we're about ready to get started. You can see that I've got white lines that are running parallel to my two master lines, and you can see I've already cut a couple of lines in here, but we've got the white lines that are the master lines. The yellow lines signify the border. So that's where I want these to go, but those yellow lines, like this one here, these two here, and this one, those are based off of our master lines, and so I don't have them in yet. So that gives me some idea of where we're gonna go. It's the same up here on the forearm. I've got my yellow lines kind of roughing out where I want my pattern to be in. And then I've got a whole bunch of white lines in here, and those are just guides to help me think straight. And so we've got all of those kind of ready to go, and everything's in place. So let's, I wanted to mention, so we're going to stop short. You can see that I've done it here on the yellow lines. we want to stop short of that yellow line. Don't go to it, definitely don't go through it, and bring your lines almost to it, because we're going to merge these two together. And so just in case things are off a little bit, that'll give us some room to fill in and make sure that we don't cut too far. Lastly, the last thing that we want to talk about is what do we do if you get a crooked line. Now, we're going to talk about fixing mistakes in the third video, but for right now, there's one mistake that you have to take care of right away, and that is if you do start to get a bend in the line or a little wiggle because maybe your tool caught a pore in the wood and it caused a little bit of a flutter in your line, cut it, get that straightened out right away. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to find the straight parts of the line and cut all of those, top and bottom. If it's in the middle or if it's in the bend, cut almost all the way up till it's about to bend. And then I use an old tape measure that I've cut down, and I'll lay that along the parallel parts, and then I take a scribe and I scratch that in and I cut it by hand, in essence making a new master line. The sooner you get it taken care of, the straighter and easier it is to fix. So if you do it, if you cut two lines and you realize it, stop and fix them right away. Don't think that you're gonna, oh, I'll come back and get that, because it's only gonna get worse. As that line bends, it's gonna bend more and more and more as you follow it. So it's best to lay that down, scratch it, cut basically a new master line. I go back and back cut it just a little bit, try to straighten out that crooked line, and then carry on from there. But it's important that you fix that mistake right away. I think that's it for now. Well, let's do a little bit. We'll cut some lines just really quick, and I'll show you how I do that and where I'm starting, and we'll go from there. All right, so let's go ahead and cut some lines, and we'll just cut two lines really quick. I've already got 3 in there, so we're going to cut 2 more, but let's just look at that really quick. So first we're going to get our lighting correct. So we're going to go into the dark, and this is cut at 24 lines to the inch. You can see that I've cast the shadow just a little bit, and you can see that I've stopped there, and we're going to come in. Okay, so you can see up here that we've just stopped short of the lines. I'm not going all the way to the yellow. We'll have to wait until we get this master line here up into this point that we can start bringing the lines together. Really quick too, you're going to see that I've also stopped back in here. The truth is I can cut a little bit further back, but doing the video at this time, it's a little difficult to do, so I'll come in and fix that up. And then this last little bit, we'll actually have to do that by hand. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Okay, so we're going to deal with this area here that I mentioned earlier, because the head of my tool was in the way, and honestly it wouldn't matter whether you're using the hand tool or whether you're using the power machine. You just can't get here. This is your line here, but you need to end there, so you're never going to get all the way. So what I do is I go out about 5-6 lines, something like that, flip the stock upside down. You can see I've already done all of this, and then I take and put my old tape measure down and lay it along this line here, and then I scratched a line in there, and then I cut it, so basically just that little bit, and then we're going to just back cut, cut right to left into here and get these lines fit. We're going to have to do this 2 or 3 more times, because this whole area right in here, you can see I've already done it this way going up, but here it doesn't work. Now, so we're going to have to do this. The big key is don't come out here and go like, okay, here it is, and then try to cut all that whole distance apart. It's not going to work for you. You'll be off by the time you get over here. It's just not going to work out. There's too much risk involved. So just 5-6 lines, and then get your line and finish those up. 5-6 more, flip the stock, and go over. So let's go ahead and cut these lines. Okay, and that's it. Those are all cut in place now, and you can see they're nice and straight. Everything's blended together, and we're good to go. So we've got this kind of going along. This side here, I've already done the top half as much as I can without working from this position now. You can see that we've taken this master line all up there, and then this line all the way up, and established our top line here. You can see I've got what looks to be an overrun, and I'm a little bit short, but I want to wait until I get this over here completed, and then I can start balancing everything out. So I could fix this if I have to. I don't want to, but we want to work with this here first. So we're gonna go ahead and get this all established, and then I'll get this top half going and this bottom half, and then we should be about ready to start taking everything to depth. Okay, so the lines are all cut now, one pass in every direction all the way. All of our points line up, everything's just the way we want it. So it's time to start deepening. To be honest with you, the second pass is usually the most dangerous. That's the one where you're most likely to slip, because as you get lines that are deeper and then they'll cut out the others, it's a little bit harder. You can see my master line here still kind of runs a little strong. So what you're going to want to do, and I don't know if I can get this or not in the video. See how the lines are deeper going one way than the other? So the lines coming this way are a little shallower. It's because I cut the lines this way second, and so they're not quite even. So you have to pay attention to that. So I'll start coming this way first to deepen those ones. If you don't do that, what you're going to end up with is really deep lines in one direction and pretty shallow lines in the other. Okay, so it's just something we want to pay attention to there. And other than that, it's just a matter of getting everything almost to depth and starting to clean up the edges a little bit. You can see we've got a little bit of a shortfall here, a little bit of a shortfall here, and we'll need to clean all that up. Okay, so you see the stock was where it was after one pass, and the next phases, we didn't have any video of that. For some reason it got lost, and so I'm just going to tell you that it was 2 more passes to get it to depth. And the things that we worked on were, getting an even depth, getting up close to the borders, and making sure that we kept our lines straight and everything was kind of even. And so that's the end of the second phase of a checkering pattern, or the process, if you will. And so we're going to move on to the third and final stage, which is all the handwork, and that'll be covered in our third video. We'll hope to see you soon. Thank you.